Now that you're done with the gusset, it's time to start on the rest of the sock. So we're going to work the foot, which is just plain, and then you work the toe decreases. First, you're going to need to find how long your foot is. There's a few ways you can do this. You could measure your foot by stepping on a piece of paper and putting a line where your heel ends and where your toe ends and then measure that. Or you could Google your shoe size and look up an average foot length for that size. And then what you do is you take a measuring tape and you measure along the bottom of your sock from your heel turn until the end of your gusset, however long that is, along the bottom of your foot. And you take your total foot length, subtract your heel and gusset length, and subtract the toe length, which I have written here as well. And that will give you the total length that you need to knit for your sock, just in the foot area. And then you can multiply that by 6.5, which is our row gauge per 1 inch, 2.5 centimeters, to get how many rows you need to knit plain. Another thing you can do is you can use a sock ruler. So this is a really cheap tool that you can use. I have several of these and I really, really like them. I think they're perfect if you knit a lot of socks. So essentially what you do is you figure out, okay, how long is my foot? I have a 10-inch long foot from the very end of my heel to the end of my toe. And I'm knitting a 1.5-inch toe. So that gives me 8.5 inches. So that is how long I need my sock to be before I start my toe decreases. This goes technically up to 10 inches. So I'm placing a Post-it note for 8.5, which is what I need. Stick the sock ruler until it hits against the back heel. And I am just about perfect. If I remove this, you can kind of see the 8.5 right there. And I am perfectly on that line. So this is just a really great tool. But if you don't have one of these, you could always measure out the length of your foot minus your toe and cut it out in a piece of cardboard and do this kind of same thing. Now that we've knit our foot as long as we want it to be, it's time to start the toe decreases. So we're going to work in stockinette until the foot of your sock measures X amount of inches or centimeters from your desired length. It's either going to be 1.5 or 1 3/4 inch or 4 or 4.5 centimeters from your desired length. So the toe decreases are worked towards the beginning and end of each needle. It creates a nice slope. And both socks are worked the exact same way, so there's no difference between your left foot and your right foot. They're worked exactly the same. And each size of the pattern will have a different amount of rows. In the beginning, you will be alternating between a decrease row and a plain row. Once we get further into the toe, it will just be decrease row after decrease row. And every decrease row is worked the exact same. And it's worked the same on each needle. So you work a knit 1 SSK, knit to the last 3 stitches, knit 2 together, knit 1. And then on needle 2, same thing. And every decrease round is worked the same as decrease round 1. And then after decrease round 4, some sizes will stop having plain rounds and some will continue. An X next to your size means that you skip that. Go ahead and pull out the back needle. And we're going to work a knit 1 SSK, knit to the last 3, knit 2 together, knit 1. To begin, we're going to knit the first stitch as normal. And then we're going to work an SSK. So we've worked this a few times. So you slip the first stitch as if to knit, slip the second as if to purl, and then go into them and knit them through the back loop. Slip the first one as if to knit. So go into it as if you're going to knit it, but just slip it. Go into the second stitch as if to purl, but just slip it as well. Take your left needle into the front loops of both of those stitches at the same time. Yarn over, pull a loop through, and slide off. And I like to kind of tighten up that stitch a little bit, and then knit across the needle until you have only 3 stitches left. So we have also worked a knit 2 together before, so you go into the next 2 stitches at the same time as if you're going to knit them and knit them together. So instead of going into 1, you go into the front loops of 2 at the same time. Yarn over, pull a loop through, slide off, pull a little extra tight, and knit the last stitch. Go ahead and turn your work. Slide your stitches up onto the closer needle. Pull out the back needle. And we do that same process on this needle. So knit the first stitch, work an SSK, slip as if to knit, slip as if to purl, into the front loops of both, yarn over, pull a loop through, and slide off. And after every decrease, I always tighten up the yarn just a little bit and then knit to the last 3 stitches. And once you get down to the final 3, you work a knit 2 together. So into the next 2 stitches at the same time, yarn over, pull a loop through and slide off. And then knit the final stitch. Go ahead and turn your work. And that was your decrease row. You should have decreased 4 stitches in total, 2 on each needle, and you should have this many stitches left on each needle. So remember that we're going to work every decrease round in this section the same as this decrease round. So decrease round 1 is your model. You will work every other decrease round the same way. You're now going to be alternating plain rounds and decrease rounds. And again, if it has an X in the place of your size, that means to skip that round. So in the end, you should have 5, 6, and 7 stitches on each needle. So go ahead and work what's written here, your decrease section, and rewind back to our decrease round 1 if you need a refresher on how to work any of the decrease rounds. So go ahead and do that, and I will show you how to do the Kitchener stitch. So I've just finished decrease round 5, and I'm ready to move on to decrease round 6. So for my size, decrease round 6, it's the last round of my toe, because if I look at decrease round 7, it says sizes 2 and 3, skip to Kitchener stitch. If you lose track, you can also just count your stitches. So I have 2, 4, 6, 7 on each needle, and I need to have 5 when I move on to the Kitchener stitch. So I need to do one more decrease round. So I will walk you through that. I'll walk you through my one final decrease round. So I knit the first stitch, and I like to pull a little extra tight once I get down to this few stitches just to prevent any gaps and holes around the toe. Then slip as if to knit, slip as if to purl into the front loops of both, yarn over, pull through, slide off. And then I knit to the final 3 stitches, which for me, I only need to knit 1. And then I knit 2 together, pull a little tight after the decrease, and then knit the final stitch. I have only 5 remaining on this needle, so I can go ahead and turn my work. And then pull out the back needle and do the same thing. So knit the first stitch, slip the second as if to knit, the third as if to purl into the front loops of both, yarn over, pull a loop through, slide off, and then pull a little tight to close any gap, knit to the final 3 stitches, which for me is just a knit 1, and then knit 2 together, pull a little bit tight, and knit the final stitch. And then I can go ahead and turn my work again, and that's it. That is your toe decrease section.